Say hi.
Really? I just came out of the bathroom.
I couldn't help it.
Hi. I need to borrow your tweezers.
Oh, go ahead.
Because my unibrows kind of growing back in. God, what are you doing with this footage?
I'm just gonna edit it and
Are you putting it online?
maybe.
Edit out the unibrow part. That was just awful timing, by the way. I just came out of timing. Gotta have a little more finesse.
I know, but I just did it just because I couldn't help it.
So while I was going to the bathroom, you got the idea to go in your room.
My camera's right on my desk. I just had
I'm
to.
gonna film. Okay. Alright.
It's a sunset once more. That is the best breakfast ever. Anybody has to try it. And if you think it's nasty, then something is obviously wrong with you, but that is like the best breakfast ever. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. This is by far the greatest thing ever made. Because my mom, ever since she first got them for me, she got them for me a while. She actually first got me my first one a while back, and that was my second one. But ever since she got me that, those things, oh man, they're like the greatest things in the whole wide world. Like I can't stop eating. I could probably like, if I had like one food to eat for the rest of my life, it would probably be that, or just save up like a cacajillion of them, and then like come zombie apocalypse or end of the world type scenario, and it's like you know, nuclear-ish, like, you know, when people say end of the world food is a Twinkies, or, you know, stuff like that, like an end forever, I'd choose that over a Twinkie any day. Well, hello guys. I apologize for it being Friday instead of Thursday, but it's time for another edition of Odds and Ends, where I read you some crazy news stories that make you kind of scratch your head and be like, what? But, so anyways, without further ado, let's get this going, shall we? Now, our first story comes out of Australia. Zookeepers at the Australian Reptile Park in Gosford say the country's largest reticulated python went on a crash diet in 2011 and has emerged as a Saviti snake. Atomic Betty, who is believed to be the biggest snake in Australia, hit 298 pounds early last year. Worried about the still growing reptile's weight, caretakers started monitoring her diet. Quote, this year she only has about 3 or 4 goats as opposed to maybe 10 because she was getting a little bit too round rather than getting longer. Tim Faulkner, the park's operations manager, told reporters. Atomic Betty got weighed in earlier this month. It took 6 reptile keepers half an hour to wrangle the 21.5-foot python onto the scales. After some calculations, it turned out she gained less than 5 pounds over the last 12 months thanks to her 4-goat diet. Well, that's a little weird. I mean, putting a snake on a diet, but I mean, they have the reasons because I mean she's still growing. So yeah, not as weird. In Canada, a woman refused medical assistance after being shot in the eye on New Year's Eve, at least until she finished her celebratory beer. Police and paramedics arrived at a home in Winnipeg in the early morning hours of December 31st to find the unnamed 30-year-old woman sitting calmly in a chair. Quote, it was like she was oblivious to what had happened, a source told Winnipeg Free Press. Quote, she didn't want treatment until after she finished her beer. The woman was allegedly, quote, severely impaired either by drugs or alcohol or both, and showed no signs of discomfort from her injury. Paramedics on scene said it was a miracle she didn't become the city's 40th homicide victim of 2011. The body of 46-year-old Michael Warren Sinclair, Winnipeg's 39th and final murder victim of the year, was found inside the same room as the injured woman. Police say as many as 10 other people in various stages of impairment was scattered throughout the house. So far, no arrests have been made. According to a neighbor who spoke to the Winnipeg Sun, the home where the shootings took place was a hive of illegal activity. Quote, "There's always trouble down there," the neighbor, who did not want to be identified, told the Daily. Quote, "Cars are coming and going like goddamn flies down there. It's been like that for years." The female victim remains in the hospital and is listed in stable condition. Wow. I gotta say, she's pretty brave and she's got balls, man, because if you're impaired and if you refuse to get medical attention until you have a beer, one, that's stupid, but on the other hand, I mean, I would rather have medical attention right off the bat. I mean, forget the beer. You can forget a beer. I mean, it's not like it's going to kill you, is it? Anyways, moving on. In Illinois, a drunk driving suspect made it easy on law enforcement when he passed out in the parking lot on the county jail on New Year's Day. St. Clair County deputies arrested 32-year-old Casey Crane, not Casey Anthony, don't get ahead of me, on the morning of January 1st and dragged him of 20 feet to the facility where he was booked. Arresting officers said Crane was unconscious behind the wheel of his running Chevrolet Blazer with an open 12-ounce bottle of Coors Light nearby. A slurring Crane admitted to having a couple of drinks but refused to take a field sobriety test or a breath test. According to the Bellevue News-Democrat, Crane had dropped someone off at the jail for a visit before nodding off at the wheel. Wow. You're bored. You crack open a 12-pack of beer, or you drink 12 ounces of beer, and at a jail, and you just pass out. Really? That has got to be the stupidest thing ever. And also in Illinois, a 34-year-old man gave an audience a glimpse of the full Alvin after stripping naked at a screening of Alvin and the Chipmunks Shipwrecked in Chicago. According to the North Riverside Police, 96 people, most of them children, witnessed Edward Brown take off his clothes during a Thursday evening screening of the G-rated family film. Investigators say Brown entered the Classic Cinemas at the North Riverside Mall, sat in the front row and watched the film quietly for about 30 minutes. At that point, he removed his clothing, stood up on his chair, and turned around to face the crowd, exposing his genitals to children as young as 4 years old. Mall security officers arrived moments later and removed Brown. He told police that he was invited to the theater by a woman who promised to have sex and smoke crack with him if he got naked. Brown was booked into the Cook County Jail and charged with 3 counts of felony sexual exploitation of children, 1 count of sexual exploitation, and 1 count of disorderly conduct. Wow. If you're that stupid enough to go to a movie theater and think you're gonna have sex and smoke crack with a woman who promised it to you, something is wrong with you, especially if it's a G-rated movie. And who's stupid enough to fucking expose themselves in front of 4-year-olds, for Christ's sakes? This is why the world is so corrupt and it's going down the shitter right now, because of people like that. Exactly. But anyways, guys, that was it for this edition of Odds and Ends, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it as much as I always do. And I guess we will talk to you guys later. So, au revoir.